What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a very, very quick update about the markets. Just know that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing that way. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. Deposit $100 and you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. Deposits $2,000 and you're guaranteed 30. So, as far as the market's going, despite the fact that SPY had a nice setup yesterday, I was looking and eyeing this inverse head and shoulders right over here that was beginning to form, the slanted inverse head and shoulders. We were looking to see if we could make a nice move, especially as we started bouncing yesterday like this. But instead of getting that bounce, we saw SPY reject. If you look at the QQQ, it's the same thing. We had a very, very nice setup yesterday. We had this left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. We also had a bullish divergence developing right over here on the RSI. And instead of getting that big bounce, we actually saw another sell-off, right? So we had a bullish setup yesterday, but then we still sold off, so the setup has failed. The same thing happened to Nvda. On Amazon, we had nice setups, but then all the setups ended up failing. So what does that mean for the markets? How am I going to view this now? The answer is we're going to have to be very, very objective and very, very unbiased when it comes to our analysis and the way in which we go about things. I believe there's still the possibility of a bounce that could be coming, but I'm not seeing it on the chart yet. We're not officially bouncing. We may have thought a bounce was going to come yesterday looking at the price action with that crazy, crazy pump on SPY, but it was not time yet, as you could see in the price action. So follow the price action. Whether we're trending upwards or downwards, the market is very volatile, and that's what I would recommend for now. I also want to note that for the time being, the market is bearish. We're continuing to break our lows. There's no sign of a bounce yet, but I do think there is a possibility, and I'm going to be very open to this, that we could still get a bounce if SPY bounces off our 200 EMA. That's going to be around that like 568 to 570 area. We still haven't lost that critical support yet. If we lose it, I will be more concerned, but if we could hold it, there's going to be a nice bounce, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to be unbiased when doing this analysis. I'm going to be following price action for now on, but I am open to the possibility that in the future, we could be looking for a big bounce soon. And I still believe that because we haven't lost major support yet. We still haven't done that. Yes, the market's weak. We could trend lower, but I'll be watching to see what happens once we test that big level. Now, involving Donald Trump, we had some big news that came out. So he announced that he was going to be, giving many of these automakers an exemption to the tariffs that follow particular regulations. And that's some good news that came out that helped the market bounce a bit, but it wasn't really enough to get the market to continue. Now, Donald Trump's tariffs, there's been a lot of talk about how they're going to be affecting lots of retailers, especially when you look at stocks such as like, Costco, others out there like Best Buy, and the list goes on. That is what's leading to some fears right now. But Donald Trump did give us a very important warning. Today, he said that he's not even looking at the stock market. Those were his exact words. And then he's mentioning that he basically implied that the tariffs, we should just bear with them because there's going to be a short-term disruption. Those are his exact words again. But then he said that it's going to be worth it for the long term. That's what Donald Trump is arguing. And then we also have a very important quote from the Commerce Secretary. I'm going to read this real quick, and I'll talk about other things. The U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is saying that the fact that the stock market goes down 0.5% or 1%, it goes up 0.5% or 1%, that is not the driving force of our outcomes. Our outcomes are driven by we want factory production in America. We want employment to explode in America. That's what he said on CNBC. He also said that you're going to see the stock market explode if it doesn't do it tomorrow. That's because people just don't understand that you should be betting on Donald Trump. So those are his words. They're telling us that the long term is going to be fine. That's what the White House is telling us. The short term has this downside, but they're still arguing the same things. Now, whether you agree or disagree, that is your choice. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm simply just telling you what they're saying. Tomorrow is going to be another crazy day. It's going to be Friday, March 7th, 2025. I think it's going to be the first Friday close of March. So what's important about this is we're going to be listening to see what we end up hearing from this data. Tomorrow we have the unemployment numbers coming in. That's going to cause a lot of volatility, so get ready for that. Then we also happen to have Jerome Powell giving a speech right over here at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whatever Powell says could cause a lot of volatility, so get ready just to be safe. Jerome Powell is going to cause a big move most likely. Tomorrow we also have a bunch of puts expiring. We have a 1.31 put to call ratio, so a little bit more balanced than usual. So we'll see what that leads to. The market's extremely fearful. People are panicking right now. They think the market's crashing. We're only down 6% from the all-time high. We're not even at a 10% correction just yet. So my point is, people are acting as if this is the big crash and this and that. We haven't really seen the big crash yet. We're not there yet. So the question is, with all this fear, are the market makers going to try a fast one and eventually try to cause a bounce over the next couple of weeks? Or will we continue to dump like this? I want you guys to kind of think about that very, very quickly. Now, two more things. We had some earnings that came out. We had AVGO, which did relatively well, beating and raising their guidance, which is why the share price is going up. But Costco not doing as well. So their EPS was at $4.02 below expectations. Revenue was a beat at about 63.7 billion, which is relatively huge. However, unfortunately, the CEO was saying that the tariffs are unpredictable, and there was a lot of fear incited because of those, which could be affecting their margins. That's the reason why we saw the share price go down amidst this fear. So, with that being said, what do I see for the share prices tomorrow? Tomorrow, there's going to be a risk of SPY still continuing to dip. We could retest the support around this 568 area. But then we're going to be watching to see if we get a Friday squeeze and a bounce, because we do have Jerome Powell giving a speech. Whatever Jerome Powell says could cause a very, very big move. Will he launch stocks right back up, or will he cause a rug pull? If Jerome Powell causes us to lose 568, we're looking for a dump all the way down towards the low 560s. And if we end up getting a big bounce, and if we could see us try to get back up to the high of the day of 580 and we break that, we're looking for 585 then 594 as our potential targets. So we could go either way. I want you guys to be very unbiased when looking at this tomorrow. We could see another dip move, but then if we hold this support, we'll see if we get a big bounce or not. It all depends on what Jerome Powell says and what we get from the unemployment numbers. My gut tells me we're going to get that bounce of 568, but we'll see, guys. I can't make promises. I'm going to be very unbiased and patient and watch the chart and play the price action just to be safe. With the QQQ, we could be dipping a bit more. We're looking bearish on the daily. Going to be looking for a move back down to about 485. We'll see if we bounce off that or not. Like I said before, we could see a little bit more downside. The trend is currently bearish, but I'll be watching to see if we bounce off 485, because it depends on Jerome Powell's speech and the unemployment numbers. So whether we get a big dump or a bounce depends on all the status. So we'll give this the time it needs. Please keep that in mind. For the Russell 2000, we're a little bit more bearish right now. We're continuing to fall. We have to see if we could hold around this 202 area. We're going to likely test that as soon as tomorrow. Then we'll see if we get a big bounce. We could be dipping to 200 to 202. If we get a bounce, you want to see us close above 210. If not, we could be dumping even more. We look a bit more bearish for now in terms of the trend, but once again, when Jerome Powell speaks, you never know what's going to happen. So tomorrow he's giving a speech. On ES, we look a bit more bearish. We could be looking for 5750 as our potential target down here. If not, all the way down to about the 5700 area. So there's still likely a little bit more downside coming. But then we'll be watching, can we bounce before we lose 5700? If we want to get that bounce, you want to see us get back above our 200 EMA at 58.25. If we close above that, it's going to be a good sign. If not, we're going to continue to dump, so we'll give this some time to develop. NQS 20,000 is the main support. If we lose that, we're looking for a bigger dump. If we hold 20,000, I want to see us get back above 20,600 to bounce. We could go either way depending on Jerome Powell, so give it some time. Bitcoin is technically trying to make higher lows. It's in the middle right here. I think we have a very big event tomorrow. We could be retesting 85,800 before it tries to bounce, so look for a little bit more downside. Give this a little bit more time to develop. Nvidia is looking a bit more bearish. We're falling right now, so there's going to be a risk of us dipping even more. On the daily chart, we could be trying to retest some of these gaps over here, this low right here around like 107 to 105. So there could be a bit more downside, but keep in mind that we have bounced historically around between 102 and 105 many times. So yes, Nvidia could dip a little bit more. We failed to get the bounce we were looking for yesterday, so I could be looking for a bit more downside towards 105 or so, and we'll see if we get that bounce. For Tesla, we're on a bit of a downtrend right here. We're looking for 260 to hold. If not, we could be dumping to about the low 250s, 252 to fill that gap. Then we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. For now, we are a bit more bearish looking on Tesla, so there could be a little bit more downside towards 250. For Apple, we're holding this yellow trend line. We need to see if we could try to hold above 235. We might retest 232. And if that does not hold, then we're looking for a bigger move down. If it does hold, we're looking for a move back up to about that 240 area. So I'll be watching that as well just to be safe. So make sure you watch your key levels. That's going to be very, very pivotal for the way at which the market continues to move. For Coinbase, we're on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to be watching to see if our 4-hour could hold and we get back above 235 or not. If we do, that's going to be a very, very good sign. If not, we could be dumping. We look weak on the daily, so we're favoring a move closer to like the 205 area again before we see some buyers defense. So just keep that in mind. For others out there, we have Palantir looking a bit more bearish. It could be dipping towards 75 before it tries to bounce. Still very, very weak. There's no sign of it holding above 80 yet. We had a bad piece of news that caused it to dump. For Rivian, you want to see it get back above 12.5 to bounce, so give that some time. It's still looking kind of weak. Netflix also looks kind of weak right here. We're barely at 900. We're filling this gap, so it could be dipping a little bit more. We're going to be watching to see how it ends up holding around 900. If not, 870 is coming, so there's still that risk of a bit more downside on this. We'll see if we bounce either at 900 or 870, but there's still a risk of that downside move. Amazon's also looking a little bit weaker. We're looking to see if 200 holds. If not, we could be looking for a move back down to about 197.5, then 195. There's also a gap to fill at 190 if that fails. So we're bearish, but we want to see if we could try to get back above it like 202. If we manage to hold above it for at least 2 days in a row, then this could bounce. There's always that possibility, but we look a bit more bearish. Meta's looking a bit more bearish. We're looking for a move down towards 615 to 610. We'll see if we get a bounce off that area or not, but for now, I do anticipate a little bit more downside. We'll see if we dip first and if Jerome Powell causes a bounce back up to 630. Microsoft could dip a little bit more. If we can't hold 390, we're looking for a bigger dip. I want to see it reclaim 404, so if we dip and bounce above 404, that's going to be really nice. Google's also kind of decent. If it breaks past 176, it could bounce, so it's showing some strength compared to the markets. The VIX is bullish, which is a bearish sign for the markets so far, as the market's making lower highs and lower lows. So for now, we are a bit more bearish, but I'll be watching to see if we get some kind of bounce as we're nearing some big support. With that being said, I'm going to make this video kind of short, guys. I have somewhere else to be. I thank you for listening, so have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the night, guys. Regroup, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's watch the market potentially dip a little bit more, and we'll see if Jerome Powell and these other factors cause a launch. It's still possible we get that squeeze. It's still possible we get that bounce, but we're watching to see if we hold support. So get ready for a little bit more downside, and we'll see if we bounce. Thank you for listening, and peace out.